Hey guys, Scott from Edge Financial Services and Edge Lending Solutions. I hope you're all well. Look, I guess I want to talk about a thing that's very topical at the moment, which is inflation and therefore interest rates. And if you're in Australia, what is our Reserve Bank of Australia going to do? What's it going to mean for you? You know, how are all these things going to affect everything in the economy? The answer is it definitely is, and it has already. Talking to some of the real estate agents, first home buyers, a little bit hesitant. There's some hesitation there. Hesitation from some of the first home buyers is, hey, maybe I should wait and the price of the real estate will go down, and then I'll strike at you know, like a soft part of the market or the bottom of the market, whatever they think the bottom is, and that will make more sense for me. Look, first home buyers out there, I think that's a game that's fraught with danger. If you're ready to buy a first home, you should jump in. There is a supply and demand issue in housing in Australia, point blank. And if you don't buy it, investors will. Investors will come back. And if you go, well, hang on, investors have got to pay higher interest rates and it's harder for them to borrow money. Yeah, for some people, but not for other investors. They got plenty of money. You know, the banking system is set up so that the people with heaps of money can borrow easily and cheaper than you can. So if things are scarce, like real estate, and they produce a yield, and in Australia, the rental yield at the moment is better than it's ever been, well, I think this is where your competition is. So I think if you're going to start trying to time the market and wait for the other first home buyers to bail out, you might have a little gap there somewhere, but there's going to be someone jump straight back in. I think this is fraught with danger. You need to really understand just supply and demand dynamics. You know, like in Queensland, the state premier stood up and she said, well, there's 50,000 people that don't have houses. So I'm pretty sure it was people, not houses. If it was 50,000 housing shortage, that would be incredible. But there's 50,000 people don't have houses. So let's pretend that they're all couples with, you know, like there's 25,000 dwellings that we need. We don't build that many in Queensland realistically in a year, just to keep up with natural, you know, immigration and births and deaths and things. So when you start fighting over an asset that's scarce, well, the price is always, there's a floor put under the price, and the price is going to generally go up. The second part of this thing is inflation. Now, in inflationary environments, historically, hard assets, what we call hard assets, have done very well. Okay, so what's a hard asset? Real estate. It's real, it's tangible. The other hard asset, precious metals, gold, silver, palladium, platinum, precious stones, and commodities. So commodities being oil, coal, food, you know, that sort of stuff. Those things are doing extremely well. Look, the price of oil and coal has been artificially inflated at the moment, and that's by design. The governments are doing that on purpose. You know, the more expensive we can make oil look, the more attractive our green stuff looks, because, you know, the business case has never stacked up for green energy really. But if we can force oil and coal to look super expensive, then maybe we can slowly win the economic argument about it. And how do we make oil and coal more expensive? Just make it ridiculously hard to get via legislation. Have a lot of people protest about it, or we just refuse to take oil from countries that have it to sell. And it goes somewhere. It doesn't just sit in the ground. It's going. There's a lot of oil going to India and you know, China. They're like sucking up all of the oil from Russia at the moment. Anyway, look, what is going to happen with interest rates? Yeah, they're probably going to go up. Can they actually put them up as much as they would have to kill inflation? No. So if you took the 80s as any history, inflation in the US was 17%, and to kill inflation, to kill inflation, you know, they had to have rates over the inflation figure, right? So at one point, rates are 22%, 5% over inflation. So in theory, if inflation is running at 7% in Australia, and I actually reckon it's running at 10.5, 11, but if it's running at 7%, then the Reserve Bank rate needs to be 11%, which would mean the borrowing money you'd get from the bank is 13. And that won't happen. That won't happen at all. They won't let that happen. What they'll do is they'll let it rip. They'll try and inflate away all the government debts by letting it rip. So it's a bit of a ruse. So what does that mean though? Your rates aren't going to skyrocket through 10%. That would be politically unpalatable for every country. There'd be riots on the streets. But if you just blame wars in Russia and that sort of stuff, then you can let inflation rip and you can inflate away your debts. The big wild card there is that wages are just it's impossible for wages to keep up that high. I can't see that happening. So maybe once you get unemployment back up to 6%, maybe that's where they'll have to start loosening again. Probably 2025, 26, something like that. Anyway, guys, look, for those of you who are trying to borrow money, and we've been lending out a lot of money at the moment. People are refinancing. A lot of the calls from my clients are, hey Scott, I want to do a fixed rate. Does it make sense for me? Okay, so the variable rates are about 3% for a home loan, 80% principal and interest. Fixed rates usually are starting with a 4 on the 2-year and 3-year fixed. So it's a big call to add an extra percent to your loan and your repayments because you think the interest rates inside 2 years are going to be 5%. Now, does that maths make sense for you? If it does, and you also want certainty of your repayments, then fine, fix it at 4%. If you can't handle that initial jump, adding a percent to your loan just to get a fixed rate to have some certainty, then don't do it. Don't do it. It'll hurt you. It'll hurt your cash flow too much. What you're better off doing is looking at your household budget. I mean, your household budget is look, refinancing back to 3% makes sense too. There's a lot of cheap variable rates out. People haven't realised, and so they got 4% variable rate, and then they're going, oh, I might as well fix it at 4%. But if you refinance to 3%, you're saving a fair bit straight away. But also your household budget's going to be really important. One of the main issues that we're finding though is that the servicing calculators from lenders have increased significantly, and every time the rates go up by about between 0.5% and 1%, your borrowing power is killed by about $80,000 to $100,000. So for a lot of first home buyers, that's going to knock you out. And investors will step in and pick up the stock. That's just reality. It's just reality. So anyway, guys, look, yes, fixed rates might make sense for some of you. The other people that are looking to their bank and want to fix it, you just haven't looked around and realised that there's variable rates that look, some are under 3% still. 3% is about where it's sitting at. So I think that's probably where you should start looking at, as opposed to trying to get your fixed rate, thinking your fixed rates are going to be your saviour at the moment, just because you're already paying a high variable rate. For investors out there, hard assets, we've been saying it for a while, hard assets, hard assets, hard assets, and holding them long term. There is a scarcity of things in the world at the moment. That's called hard assets. Anyway, guys, that's it from me. I'll talk to you later on.